Hello everyone, welcome to this video. My name is Amitabh, a DevOps engineer and AWS community builder in a containers category. As in our Argo CD one shot series, we have covered all these concepts. Now in this video, we are going to cover what is the sync waves, hooks, and the phases in our Argo CD, where we can actually create a order of resource creation. Like we can define a waves that namespace should be created first, then the config map, then the secret, then deployment and the services, and even we can have the hooks like a pre-sync, post-sync, and if you want to perform the action after the deployment. So there are several phases also, so we will see that in this video. So without any delay, let's get started. So let's understand why we use sync waves, phases, and the hooks in our Argo CD. So the problem is that whenever we apply the Kubernetes manifest inside our Argo CD, it will going to sync all the resources at once. And suppose we want to make an order like the namespace should be created first, and they have the dependencies like namespace should be deployed, and due to some reason it is stuck in between because of the dependencies. So for that, we can use a sync waves that will order our resource creation inside our manifest and a Kubernetes. So sync waves let you control the order of the resources that we are going to create. Like suppose we have to create a namespace. So namespace should be created first. So we can define a wave as -1. So lower the wave number deployed first. So if you create a -5 and then it will be the lowered order. So it will be created first, and then the next wave 0 means -1, then 0, so it will be created second, and then we have the wave 1 created third, and the lastly wave 2 which will be going to be last wave. And how we define that, we use the annotation inside our manifest like argo cd dot argo proj, and then we have dot io slash sync waves and the number like -1, 0, 1 or 2 in our resources, the manifest file. And the next wave should only start when the previous wave resources are healthy. So if the namespace has stock and they have the error, so it will not go to the wave 0 as a second job or a resource creation. And so that's why we use the sync waves in our Argo CD. And what are hooks? Hooks are like a one-time job that run at a specific point of in the sync life cycle. So whether we have to run anything like in a pre-sync, whether before creating any resources, whether at a during sync like the resources are created that time, and or like a post sync after all resources are healthy. And we have a sync fail. If the sync fail, then what we want to perform if the sync is failing. And how we define that, we use the annotation in our manifest like argo cd dot argo proj dot io slash hook, and we have the pre-sync, the post-sync, and the sync fail. We have a lot of sync and the hooks, so we can use the documentation. So you can go to this URL and read about it. So we have several waves and the hooks like pre-sync, sync. We can even skip, indicate that Argo CD skip this application of the manifest. And we have the post sync, sync fail, pre-delete, post delete. So post sync basically we run after all the sync hooks are completed and were successful and the resources are in healthy state. And what are the phases? Basically the frag sync is the some phase where whatever resources we have to create in a pre-sync phase we can create, and in a sync phase and the post sync and the sync fail if the sync is failing. And now we have the waves, so let me clear those topic also. So we can combine sync waves and the hooks together. Like if you want to perform some actions in pre-sync phase, so we can define a wave inside that also. And in a sync phase also we can define a wave. Lower the order is going to be created first, and the max the order it will be created lastly. So this is how we can combine sync waves and the hooks. So I hope you understand. And now we will going to do the hands-on with it. So for that I have my EC2 instance ready that we are using in this tutorial, and I have connected to that EC2 instance. Yeah, you can see this is the EC2 instance that I have all the codes. So we have the sync waves, so we will go to the sync waves and ls. So I have this files, and this is our Argo CD server that we have deployed and the forwarded with the kubectl command that is running. And now if I have to tell how we can define a sync wave, so we have a 00 namespace inside a sync wave folder. You can even check here also. So you can see 00 namespace and all the manifest file. So firstly, I will show you via the GitHub so that you can understand the better. So we are creating a namespace as the metadata name as a web demo, and we are providing the annotation like argocd.argoproj.io sync waves as the -1. So it will going to create the resource as a namespace firstly. Then we will go through the config map, like we are creating the config map, and we have the namespace as a web demo, and the annotation we are providing the number as 0. So it will be deployed second after the namespace, and we can provide any data in a config map that we wanted to provide, like appenv port and the name, application name. And then we are creating a deployment for that resource, like SyncWave is the one, so it will be created after the config map. And like you can see, the namespace is wave demo, and the replica is 2, so it will going to have the 2 replicas. And we are using a template and the label. And for container we are using this image. I hope you know that a Docker image that we have pushed to the Docker hub. And then we have a container port of this, and we are even making sure that we are getting the env from the config map, so uses from the wave 0. And then we have a resource and limits defined for this deployment. And accordingly we have this service. So service is going to be run as same when the deployment is running. So we can have the same numbers if we want to run a parallel the resource creation, so it will deploy it together and as the same as the namespace web demo. And we have the target port and the container port. And we have to sync post sync job, so we can define, as we have seen, the hooks inside our the Argo CD. So this is the example of the hooks. If we want to perform something after the post sync, like it is a job, and we can use the API version batch v1 and the kindness job and the name of that job and the namespace in the same namespace. And we can use the annotation, where in annotation we are defining the sync wave that it should be deployed last after deployment is healthy. So we have to check whether the deployment is successful and the healthy, and we want to check whether the application is running. And now we have the hook, and what hook we want the post sync. So we are define all the resources healthy, then only create run this job. And now we can even define hook delete policy. If this hook is successful, then auto delete job after the success. So you can define this also. And in a specification template we are using a busybox image, and where we are running a shell command like we are delegating that Argo CD demo application service endpoint. So app is up and app is not reachable, so it will verify. And if it is successful, it will going to delete that job. So it is a one-time job, so all the hooks are going to be one-time job. So if you want to perform pre-sync before creating any resources, so you can create a pre-sync hook. Like if you want to migrate something, so you can use the pre-sync. And the lot more waves like or the hooks like during the sync and escape and the sync fail. So you can have the full control over your resources accordingly. So I hope you understand what are the resources and the manifest we have. So I hope you understand all the concept related to the hooks, waves, and the phases. So and the many phase related stuff. And even now, let me show you the application that we are going to use as a declarative way. So this is our application that we are going to deploy over the Argo CD. So you can see this repo URL is this master branch, and the path of manifest is the sync waves, and the destination as a default Kubernetes server, and the namespace is this have the sync policies as a self-fill and the prune true, and auto create a namespace if it is not created. So why we have not put this application inside the manifest like a sync wave? So it will automatically going to recursively create that itself, like it will create the Argo CD sync app itself only in Argo CD, so it will never going to be deleted as if you try to delete. So that's why I have separated this file apart from the sync waves. So now we will actually do the hands-on. So for that we will go to our readme that we have for this demo. So we have all the demo structure, and now we will apply this sync app file that we have created. So for that we have to go to our EC2 instance that we are created and running. And now I have connected to that EC2 instance. So this is my EC2 instance, and we have inside the Argo CD folder that we are using from the start of this demo. So we have had the latest changes, and this is our Argo CD server that we are running. And now we will run this command, and now we will check what happening behind it. So before that, we will also copy this command, which is wait. So it will help us to understand the order. So I will run this command in another terminal that where I have connected to the Argo CD in new tab. So I will place this here, and now I will apply this. It is created, and now apply this. So you can see the first is the namespace. We have the out of sync and the missing. So we will check which is going to be created first. So you can see the namespace has been created first, then the config map, then the service and the deployment at the same time, and both are healthy. And now we have the job as a post sync verification that is successfully created and run that their job and reach the expected number of success report, and it is deleted. So if we verify over this, so you can see the first is try to create the config map, but we have defined the namespace. So it is going to create the namespace first, and for the deployment and service it has the out of sync and the missing, as we have defined the namespace should be created first. So it will not create anything before the namespace. So it will create a namespace running. Once the namespace is success, it's going to be through the config map as we have defined to be created after the namespace. Then after that, we have to deploy the deployment or the service. Any of them, it is going to be run as a parallel. So deployment is created, and we have the services also created. And now after that, we have a batch job, which is a post sync verifier running. So you can see job is created, and it reached the successful expected number of the pod, so it is deleted. So I hope you understand how it the works, the pod creation and the resource creation during the sync wave. So we have defined the wave, and accordingly it has created. So we have the defined project and the source, the sync window allowed. We have allowed the sync policy and the healthy status and all the resources that we have created. So it is successfully synced. And now if I go to the application inside our Argo CD, you can see there is one application is running. So I hope you understand how the sync wave is completed from z minus 1 to like 2 that we have defined inside our manifest file. So it is a hook that we have run. So you can check that also. And now if we go to the our application and see what are the resources are running. So we have the config map, the namespace, the service and the deploy. So now we cannot see the processing as it is a one time job. So it is created and done that job, and it is deleted as we have defined is to be hook succeed on the delete policy. So it will auto delete job after the success. So it has been deleted. So our application is running and app is run, so it has deleted accordingly. So deployment verification is completed. So I hope you understand all the concept related to the phases, the waves, the hooks that we have inside our sync and the Argo CD. And you can read this documentation for more details. And now if you want to delete this application, you can simply click on delete and select the background and type this name of the application. Click on OK. Now you can see this application is going to deleted as we have deleted everything. So it will take some time and delete this application in background. So I hope you understand how this sync wave is working and how the hook is succeeded and deleted after the job completion. You can read more about over the documentation, and this repo I will provide into the comment section or the description, so you can use it as a practice. So you can also run this demo and learn by doing. Now you can stop the EC2 instance, and we will cover the next topic in the upcoming video. It probably on the Argo CD projects and the RBAC. So till now you can stop the EC2 instance, and that's all for this video. Let me know in the comment section whether you have some problem and do you find some topic difficult and have an issue with the demo, so we can solve that issue into the comment section. So I will see you in the next one. Jai Hind. Bye.